Oh, good morning. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Early morning Tuesday. The weather is nice here, a nice sunny day. It's good because I have an appointment to go to later on and have a bit of driving to do. So I get to drive in the sunshine, which is going to be nice. So thanks for everybody for tuning in to Tuesday's live stream. Always good to have you here. As the crew rolls in, I just want to thank everybody for joining. Thank you first to the channel members, but also to if you're watching this on the replay. We go live Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. to about 8:45. It'd be great to have you join on. Good crew of people. The coffee crew always shows up, which is awesome. And we have a good conversation about investing, TFSAs, the market, and well, wherever the conversation takes us, it's always great. If you're new and watching this live stream, don't be afraid to say hello. It's always good to have you here. Good group of people. We're not scary at all. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask a question. That's for sure. So let's see who we have rolling in today, and of course, always a little bit of news to talk about today in the markets and what's going on down in with the Fed down there. But let's see who's here first this morning. And I saw this come in, and this is Candace. Candace is losing her throne of the first one in. So Paul, congratulations, happy Tuesday, first one in. That's 2 days in a row, Paul. Good, that's good. I have to figure out if you can make it all week. We'll maybe figure out some kind of, I don't know, some kind of prize or something like that. Maybe Paul, if you can make it all week, I'll if you want, I'll send you I can't give you a channel membership directly, but I'll send you an e-transfer so you can buy a channel membership maybe for the month, something like that. That would be fun. But great to have you here. So Candace, there we go, 2 for 2. Good morning. Always good to have you here, though, too, Candace. You have to wake up or maybe a little bit. I think you're up. It's just you have to log in a little bit earlier to see if you can beat Paul now. Paul's got the upper hand. So 2 for 2. And Stan's here, always here. Good to see you, Stan. Hopefully your day's going well. That's great. MC, good morning. You made it at the beginning. Thanks, MC, for the. I watched that interview yesterday, MC, with Kevin O'Leary, and on the Daily Show. I didn't even know the Daily Show was still even going. It's so funny, but I watched that last night on Twitter. It was a good interview. He asked some questions that were definitely putting him a bit into the gears. So it was good. It was a good interview. If people don't. You can look on YouTube if people are wondering what we're talking about. But there was an interview on the Daily Show, and I'm sorry I can't remember the host. MC, pipe in. You'll remember the host's name. And with Kevin O'Leary talking about FTX, that kind of thing. It was really good. It was a good interview. About close to a half an hour, 20 minutes or so. But that was good. Worth watching. Thank you. Abigail Bailey, hello. Good to have you. And Nadia, channel member Nadia, nice to have you. Coffee. That reminds me. I need a sip of coffee. And sip of coffee. Hopefully your cup is warm, everybody. And good call. We could, yes, let's give Paul the air horn. Let's give Paul the air horn. There we go. Paul gets the air horn we give away one air horn for the day. I always hope that always works because I can never hear it. I see it go, but I don't know if I actually hear it. And your husband is the troll, Kevin O'Leary. Yeah, he's an interesting character. I mean, he is what he's a. Yeah, love. I mean, It's almost like his persona on Shark Tank is overtaken his. He's always had that persona. Even when he was doing the Dragon's Den thing in Canada here, he was always, he had that personality. But it's kind of like it can be kind of annoying. But again, for what it's worth, I mean, love him or hate him, but he is, not a lot of people like the guy, that's for sure. He's good on Shark Tank, like the host. That was right. Hassan Minhaj is the host, and he asked some really good questions. Actually, it was a really good interview. I encourage everybody to go pull that up. You can just search Daily Show on Daily Show / Kevin O'Leary. It'll pop up on your search, but worth watching. Nadia, if your husband likes to troll him, he might be interested in watching that. Might be interested in watching that interview. And so the air horn worked. There we go, Paul. Congratulations on the air horn. So silly. So how's everybody's morning going so far? Obviously, the big news down in the States, we can pull that up, is let me pull up my right tab here. Big news, and we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, but there we go. So yeah, I love how it's a big red banner on top as well. But stocks drop, yields rise on bonds, as worries about faster rate hikes. So basically, Powell has basically come out and said inflation is stickier than they thought it was going to be, and there is pressure now to again, possibly, they're not saying for sure, but they, for all intents, they've kind of come out and said it that they're not higher sharp increases aren't off the table. Contrast from Canada, for sure, but they did kind of slow their pace down in the States, but from earlier interest rate hikes earlier in the year. But basically, they're kind of saying their higher hikes aren't off the table. So market obviously reacts to that, and it was, you could actually, if you're watching, you know, the charts and the S&P, you can literally see it as soon as 7 o'clock rolled around. Big drop again. So we'll have to see what pans. Yeah, that's exactly. I was Candace. You can literally watch it and you can look at the chart and go, oh, it must be time that he's doing his speech. Or, well, I think it was prepared remarks. I don't think it was necessarily a speech, but you can literally see it. Oh, it must be 7 o'clock. So then you can kind of go over to Twitter and find the news, that kind of stuff. I do, and that was it. So again, we'll have to see how, the rest of the day it looks. I mean, if we're watching the kind of things, I know, Candace, you're more of the day trader. You're probably watching things a bit more closely, but you can kind of see it coming back a little bit more as everybody kind of digests it. There's always the initial like knee-jerk reaction to things like that. Whether it will be sustained, who knows? It's not going to change me doing my dollar cost average next week. So I think we just kind of read, figure it out, and then just carry on with at least me carrying on with what we're doing. And Best Weirdo, good to have you here. Thanks for liking the stream. Yeah, on that note, thanks Best Weirdo for liking. And everybody else, if you haven't hit that, if you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. Helps out the channel. It's always good I do appreciate everybody taking their time to come on. That was the only real news article. Is he again? He is speaking again. That's right. So there'll be more news tomorrow. We'll have the same, probably panic over and over, rinse, repeat, carry on, and we'll just get you. It's almost like I'm kind of getting used to this, like up down, up down, up down. It's definitely an interesting time out there. That's for sure. Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is because the Canadian dollar, if the U.S. keeps raising, which I believe they will too, I'm not sure if Bank of Canada will be able to pause indefinitely. I mean, the Bank of Canada said they're going to keep conditional pause. But I suppose if they accept a lower, if they don't, a lower Canadian dollar, it is possible. But the whole thing now is if the dollar keeps getting hammered, a lot of the stuff we buy is more, it's so counter it's like counterintuitive, like everything gets more expensive. So inflation, it's like there's no, I don't know. I think we're in this for a while. It's definitely interesting times with Bank of Canada. The problem with the Bank of Canada here is it's tied a lot to, I mean, you see people we talk about mortgages, right? Variable rate mortgages and that kind of stuff. It's really, really going to start to pinch if rates keep going up here. We'll see. We'll have to see what happens. I think they're going to try and pause as long as possible. But again, yeah, like you said, MC, I don't think it's going to be indefinitely. I'll have to kind of see how things pan out. So today was the Senate, tomorrow is the House. Okay, so there'll be more fun times tomorrow in the middle of the week. Definitely a big week. And I think isn't there some more numbers I think out Canada's later on this week? Is it job numbers are out this week? There's something else coming out. It's like a busy. It's probably a week like almost not to look not to look at it if you're invested. I don't know. But definitely a big week. Well, it's also tomorrow is not that it matters, but in the big scheme for the states, not we're just not we don't play that much of a part. But tomorrow is obviously the Bank of Canada as well, so that'll be at 7. I believe it's 7 o'clock Eastern is when they put out their press release for the rate. We kind of know nothing's going to change, but we'll be able to talk about that tomorrow because we'll have the kind of the commentary that goes with it to see where their stand is, especially maybe after now that Powell has said what he said for today, that kind of thing. We will definitely have to see how things pan out on the market front. I also watched a great. That's what it was. Jobless claims report. That's right. It was jobs report. So we'll see that tomorrow. Lots of big news happening. That is for sure. I did see another article today that there's so it's a job openings, not job. I knew it was some kind of job report. I also saw in an article, they won't pull it up, but Facebook Meta, they're set to do more layoffs as soon as this week. More jobs. They've already reduced it by more than 11,000 people from its workforce, but there's a plan to cut more potentially. That kind of popped up. Whether that's rumor or truth, I do not know. All right. If they choose to keep raising rates, which is actually probably healthy, yes. I know they need to accept insolvencies. Maybe that is healthy for an unaffordable city, but perceived as a negative. Yeah, I think you're talking about Canada. Canadians have held on so far okay, especially with the cost of housing. But I think if we'll start to see if we start to see higher interest rates, there's a lot of people in variable rate mortgages. We talked about yesterday a little bit. What is it? I looked up CIBC and I looked up TD and CIBC. They're the ones that were kind of making the news a little bit, and like 27% of mortgage, like of the borrowers there, are over 35-year amortizations. So they're really technically kind of not a lot. Some people aren't even paying enough interest to cover their interest payments. So if rates go up again, that means more. And I've seen mortgage information statements with amortizations. I saw one over 50 years. I saw one over 74 years. I think it was. It was a lot. And again, that was prior to the last increase of 25 basis points, which was so we'll have to see what will happen. And Dank Magic, welcome, channel member. Awesome, good to have you here. They are preparing. You can see that in the numbers. They're prepping up. They're putting aside cash to prepare for defaults. The one thing with housing though and mortgages, I mean, people will generally make their mortgage payments. That's kind of they'll default on other stuff before their mortgage. But again, you can only go so far, right? If you're tapping into first, you're obviously hopefully have some kind of emergency savings or something like that you can use to prop up your payment. Because if your payment's increased, there's two right. It depends. If you're somewhere like where your variable rate mortgage payment increases each time or fluctuates with rates, then you're obviously paying more. But if you're sitting at a lender like CIBC or TD where your payment doesn't change, you haven't had that impact yet. Um, you're going to have that impact when your mortgage comes up for renewal, whenever that would be, because you have to bring it back down to your contracted amortization at renewal, and or the original, or they're probably doing like the original amortization. So let's say the maximum in Canada was 30 years. You have to bring, all of a sudden, if your amortization is sitting at, on paper, 50 years or over 35 years, you have to bring it back down to 30. That's obviously going to increase your payment, because rates are higher. So it's going to start to impact people for sure. It's just having, I think, a really lagged effect here, lagging effect here in Canada for stuff. But if people are renewing their mortgage, that's when they're starting. And whether they're renewing it at from a fixed rate or a variable rate, whatever they're renewing into, is going to be higher than what they were paying. So that's where it's gonna get tight. And some people, hopefully have started to prepare for that, but it's hard. It's definitely hard. Um, so job openings. So we got it is a Candace. It is a hell week, because you got job. So you said job openings tomorrow, and then jobless reports on Thursday. So it's going to be an interesting rest of the week. Does anything happen? What's happening Friday? Can we? I think we can relax. We can maybe relax on Friday. Gosh, yeah. And there's a coffee pot. That's good. Coffee in the cup. Coffee is good today. Keeps me going. It's Let me try and think here. In coffee, I was able to finally pick up again. I love it when it's on sale. Amazon coffee on sale. So there's some good news for today. Coffee on sale. If you scope it out, you can sometimes get it for 9.99 a pound, lately. So some good news. Good news for today. Um, there we are. All right. So that's, well, as that's nothing to, as we're saying, that's all the news. If anybody else, as always, if anybody else has anything that is on their mind, about their TFSA, investing, all that kind of stuff, drop it in the comments. It's always good. This conversation's always about everybody else too. So if anybody has anything, to keep the comments going, it makes my life easier. If anybody has anything on their mind, and we'll also pull up, if anybody's watching anything in particular, we'll pick up. Let me just pick up this is the Coffee Crew kind of watch list. Now we're gonna, unfortunately, a little bit of red today, but there's the watch list. So if anybody has any stocks, ETFs that are new on their radar, let us know. We can always add that to our watch list. I still have to figure out a way to share that publicly so people can kind of see it, but yeah. You were looking at new duplex the other day. Rate quoted was 6.1, comparable to 12 months ago. This is high, but relative to 30 or 40 years ago, maybe not so much. Yeah. Are you looking at an investment property, MC, again, or are you looking to possibly move there, or is it just like looking at buying half like living in half, or renting the other half, or what's that? Obviously, rental, depending where you're looking, rates, yeah, that looks about kind of probably around the ballpark for an investment property. Yeah, yeah. People people tend to anchor, which can often lead to bad decisions. If you observe lots of pricing paid for things and such items on sale, they all utilize the idea of anchoring. Anchoring. I've never heard that. Is that kind of like, is that kind of the idea that you buy something, it's on sale, so it's justified because it's on sale, but you actually don't really need it? Is that is that kind of right? Although I mentioned coffee on sale, I need coffee. I need co- I need um, I need coffee. I've never heard that term before. I'm gonna just Google it up. Anchoring. Cognitive bias. Interesting. It's when you make decisions relative to the price that came before it. Okay, there's a big Wikipedia article I'm gonna have to read. Um, it's like a justification. Okay, interesting. I'm gonna have to. Actually a really large uh, article on this. Um, Interesting read. Okay, interesting. Okay, I'm gonna read. That's a big. As you can see here, it's a big. There's a big Wikipedia article, and I'm gonna have to read. I'm gonna read this because this looks really interesting. I've never heard that term before, MC. And there's like like massive article. It gets into like your mood and then personality and oh, okay, interesting. That's bookmarked. Awesome. I got some reading now to do. I got some reading. MC, I also have your podcast bookmarked. I'm gonna listen to that. I'll listen to that tonight. I was watching yesterday. I watched that, obviously, that Kevin O'Leary interview, and then I watched the podcast. It's a what do you call? I mean, I don't know, what do you call it? It's an interview. It's they have a podcast as well, but they film it. Is the one with Lynn Alden on What Bitcoin Did. I really like listening to Lynn. She was talking all about the in the U.S., the Treasury and the central bank. It was good. It makes you well. It was good, but it got into the how it kind of works and how it's not. It's kind of, I don't know. It was interesting. You have to kind of watch it. A lot of almost some of it's kind of over my head, but as you're listening to it, you're just kind of like, this doesn't make sense. But okay. So it's if you apply things that you buy or how items are marketed to you, or in stock prices where you convince yourself it is on sale, etc. It's hard to avoid, but being aware of it helps. Yeah, that I could see how that would relate to stock prices, because it's sometimes like, look at today. You go, okay, well, everything's down, let's go buy it. But sometimes it's maybe not a good idea to do that, depending what you're getting. It's interesting. I'm gonna definitely read that. I'm gonna read that article afterwards. How it good. I mean, the whole thing. That's the thing. Like, pricing and marketing is it's pretty crazy. You don't think that you sometimes think you're really savvy, right? And oh, I'm not gonna fall. I'm not gonna fall for this marketing ploy or something like that. But then if you start to look at some of the things you actually purchase, you actually do, and it eventually they get to you. I mean, a perfect example for me would be when I first joined Well Simple. It was because of marketing. Like, it was, remember when on you well, it was 2020, mid 2020, and like every ad you saw on YouTube was like a Well Simple ad. Whether it was maybe just me seeing it, because who knows, because of the stuff I was watching, but like it seemed like every ad you skipped on YouTube was a Well Simple ad, and eventually you're like, oh, I should check this out. So marketing works. You like to think it doesn't, but it actually really does. Uh, and you have to really kind of watch, like Amazon too. Like I said, buying my coffee at Amazon, it knows that I order like it knows from my cart that I order coffee. So every once in a while now, it obviously, the algorithm or whatever figures it out, because it must know how much coffee from my carts, how much coffee I order, and how, like, if I've ordered 4 pounds of coffee and then, you know, 2 months later I buy another 4 pounds of coffee, it knows. I think it knows to send me an email when it thinks I'm going to be out of coffee. Honestly, it does, and that's how I find the 9.99, like the special, because it's like, oh, hey, you bought this before, it's on sale now. Here's your favorite coffee on sale, and of course you buy it, which is, yeah, marketing is pretty amazing. The how they can grab you, that's for sure. And Amazon's really good at that. Um, Google as well, I guess, with the ads you see, are as well. But I'm not a big like. You kind of learn like I kind of learn to almost ignore a lot of the ads that I see on like if you're browsing the internet, and I do have an ad blocker on my browser, so I don't really see a lot of ads anymore. But those marketing ones from Amazon definitely work. I'm sure I could turn those things off, but it seems to always work, to show what's going on. It's almost like they something's listening to you, and you're talking and going, oh, you're in the kitchen and looking at your cupboard and you're pulling out coffee and you go, oh, I need to order more coffee pretty soon. I'm getting low. And it's like it hears you and knows that you have to order coffee. Oh, interesting. Okay, so frugal people always want to buy things cheaper. Yes, I'm guilty of that. And anchoring can lead you not to buy something because it's not cheap enough relative to the past price, leading to regret. And I don't think I have necessarily regret on certain things, but anchoring can be internalized also. I could see that. I could see how that works. It definitely is like definitely gets into like your psyche, and what that is. Um, and interesting, interesting on that. I mean, there's times when I mean, my main expenditure is really groceries, and there's times when I see stuff that is obviously, well, groceries prices are crazy, and you see stuff that you would normally buy, and you think, okay, well, I'm just gonna run out of I'm just not when I run out of this, item X, I'm not going to buy it because it's too expensive. Maybe this week, or you can know you kind of eventually will get it on sale, so you do without something, that kind of stuff. But so flight prices, yeah, flights are tough. Speak about pricing and stuff. I mean, obviously, the farther out you book your flight, the typically the better, but there's always, and then you always think maybe I'll wait. There'll be a last minute deal, and then sometimes you wait too long, and then it gets more expensive, and it just has to do with how many people are booking those seats essentially. So you have really no control. You have really no control over that, right? But yeah, I could see how that would happen. And Candace, you never run out of coffee. It's a bad morning if I run out of coffee here, or if I realize like, shoot, I'm out of coffee. If I'm out of coffee, I'm running. I live literally across the street from a grocery store, which is nice. I don't really shop there that much because they're a bit more expensive. But I'll be there at like 7 a.m. waiting to get in when they open to buy a pound of coffee when it's out. Um, you can also do subscriptions and stuff on. I don't do it on Amazon because I just I'll probably end up ordering too much stuff with subscription stuff. But there you go, 10 bottles, and then reorder when I'm down to two. Um, what kind of coffee do you drink that's in a bottle? Do you drink like iced coffee or something like that, Candace, or is it yeah, or maybe or is it like in a glass? I think you mentioned you drink. Is it I think you drink instant coffee if I don't remember, if I remember correctly. Someone drinks instant coffee. Yeah, FOMO can be tough purchasing or trading all about anchoring. I think you have to, yeah, that's the thing. You have to look, and I mean, they like for example, today everything's down. You're going like, oh, I should buy more. It's down, but if it's out, don't. I don't. I'm getting better at that. Going like, okay, it's not my, it's not in my plan. So patience. So I was right. Instant coffee. Yeah, it's always good. You should always have. Actually, I have a little bit of instant coffee packaged in camping stuff, and it's funny. It's good because if it's in like an like I call it a coffee coffee emergency. If there's like for some reason you're out of coffee and it's you 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 don't want to go to the store or something like that, I'll dig into my camping stuff and pull out a pack of the little instant packet that I would normally use for camping, sometimes for backpacking, and that will get me by until the store opens. Yeah. as a emergency break in case of emergency. And then MC FOMO, it can work out in the same way. Like you look at something, the FOMO can work when like sometimes when it's down, but it also on the flip side it works. It also goes when it's up because if there's a position that you keep wanting to build, but I mean obviously you want to do it slowly, or you obviously don't put all your money into an investment. You don't have the funds to do it, and then you see it go up. And you're like, oh, I should do this. I really wanted to get this in because then you think, oh, I missed out on that. Yeah, it's definitely such a psychological game, investing. That's for sure. That's for sure. AeroPress works really well for camping. AeroPress, is that one of those? I know what those things are, but I gotta look. I can't even picture it. That's the one that. Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I've seen those. They sell those in like camping store, like MEC and stuff like that for camping. Actually, it depends. I use a one of those. What are they called? I can't remember the name of them, but it's like a percolator one, sort of like an Italian one. It goes on the stove. So I have a camping stove that I can put it on, and so I just have to grind coffee beforehand before I go camping and use that. If I'm somewhere that is like a campsite that I can drive to, works well. But AeroPress would be good for maybe backpacking something like that because it's lighter to carry around, or just instant coffee. Because if you're backpacking and huffing all your stuff on your back, you don't want to carry as much stuff as you. Well, the more you carry, the heavier it gets. So, used to do a lot more camping, backpacking, but I think got lazier as I get older and do more car camping now. Yeah, it's kind of like water goes in and you push it down. Uh, I've used it. I've tried it before. It's decent. It's decent. Um, it's almost like it's kind of like a Bodum, but with a bit more, like I think a bit more vacuum in there to kind of force it down. So works good. But no, I used to do more backpacking. You used to have just use instant because you could carry the little pack and then all you had to do is boil water and dump it in your cup. And then for coffee at home, I just use a French press. And then I have the little drip one that I got, like the Chemex. It's kind of like a Chemex, but it's a Chemex knockoff. That works pretty good for filter coffee. But normally just French press again. But the French press is always break, but you just have to get another glass. I love how the conversation always runs towards coffee. You have an AeroPress. Oh, 15 years ago. I think it was a cult following. Yeah, some of the camping stuff. There is a lot of that kind of like cult kind of. You want to be in the club to have a certain thing. I can see that. But if it's lasted that long, that's awesome. But yeah, camping stuff can be expensive. That's for sure. But once you get it, if you get good stuff, this is the thing. There you go. I mean, we talk about buying stuff that lasts. If it's lasted you 15 years, I think you've got your use. Definitely got your use out of it. That's for sure. So you buy decent stuff, it'll last. There's AeroPress brewing championships. That is crazy. There's countless ways to brew. That's so funny. There used to be in the Lower Mainland Steveston, which is kind of Richmond. It's near the Fraser River, and Steveston's kind of an old like a fishing village, but it's kind of like turned into like a touristy place now. There's a waterfront. You can walk along there, and there's a coffee shop that's there. It's really good coffee. Of course, it costs a fortune, but they do the one where it's done. They have you can if you want some type of coffee, they have tons of different types, and then they also have different brewing methods that you can choose. You can have super snob, it sounds super snobby, but it's really good coffee. I mean, they have espressos and they have that kind of stuff, but they have the pour over coffee, and then they also have this other thing that's it's like one of those it boils the water. It's like I don't know. It's not osmosis is the wrong word. It's like it boils the water. It's like a vacuum thing, and it kind of goes around. It looks like a science experiment essentially, and they bring it out, and they it takes like it takes like 5 minutes to brew one cup of coffee. They put the beans in the water, and the vacuum goes up, the water comes down, and it's it's pretty crazy what they can do. And I could see how they would have these championships for people that have coffee. A good cup of coffee is great though. uh, some of the best. I haven't never been to Europe to have a coffee. It'd be nice to maybe go to Italy somewhere and sit on a patio and have an espresso. But I've had some really good coffee in Mexico. That's probably some of the best coffees that I've had. But maybe it's the location that helps, and the fact that you're not making it, maybe making it yourself, and you're sitting on a in a under an umbrella and in a cafe or something like that. Had an idea downtown townhouse co-op complex in Victoria. The wait list is long though. Lots of retirees come down to the island. That's for sure. It's Victoria. I haven't been down to Victoria in a long time, probably 10 years, maybe about 10 years. I went there once for my birthday again, but it's a nice little. It's not a town. It's a city. It's a capital BC, but it's a nice town. My dad grew up there as a kid, was born there, and spent lots of time there as kids. Not tons of time, but we'd go visit my grandma in Victoria when she was alive. And Victoria's nice, but lots of older people. It would be a good place to probably retire. Anywhere I think on the island is nice to retire because it's definitely less hustle and bustle over here. That's for sure. Oh, there was a top 10 Canadian barista working at the Fuel for Gold coffee shop. Oh, okay, there you go. Uh, there's also a good there was a good coffee shop when I was downtown that was called Cafe Artigiano, and they made really good lattes and cappuccino. They did all the art and stuff on it, which was really good. Um, yeah, but then you end up spending a fortune on coffee because it tastes so good. It tastes so good. It is an art. It is an art, though. I just grind beans and throw it in the French press. I don't. If a top barista probably saw me, they'd probably be like shaking their head, maybe because I do the grind wrong or something like that. But anyways, it tastes good to me. It tastes good to me. And yeah, you know what, MC, the island is nice. The beaches are nice. It's nice in the summer. Wet coast. It's definitely wet out here in the wintertime. So if you're not used to that, we don't have much. We don't get typically much snow. It doesn't stick around very long. Like from last week when we had the snow, it's pretty much. If I look outside, it's gone for the most part. I mean, some of the higher elevations would still have a bit of snow, but it's pretty much gone on the streets. It lasts for a few days, and then you're kind of done because of the rain. But then it rains. It's like the west coast is like, and a lot of places on the island, it's pretty much like a rainforest, pretty much. Like it's no joke. It can get pretty wet. Victoria not so bad. You get a bit of farther away from the mountains, but definitely rain. But in the summertime, it's 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 nice if you're close to the beach. It's really nice. But it's the island is definitely a slower pace to get than the mainland. And yeah, it is quite a day. It is quite a day to go back and forth. It's a long day because the ferry ride's about 2 hours. It's a nice ferry ride though, but it definitely takes a long day. Um, Bowen Island is good though too from Horseshoe Bay. Quick little ferry, and you could kind of almost walk on the ferry if you really wanted to. But to go to Victoria, I would say from people that are visiting and they've never been to Vancouver and they want to go to Victoria, the best way to kind of get there, possibly for the day, would be to take, and it's going to cost you more money though, but is to look and maybe take the float plane over, because if you don't have a car, you don't have to worry about renting a car. You have to go on the ferry, because a lot of times by the time you pay for the ferry, rent a car, and go over for the day, it's not much more to get a float plane ticket. It's going to be more expensive, but You take off from the right downtown Vancouver, and you're literally right in the harbor of Victoria, so you can walk off the plane and you're right where you want to be. You don't have to drive from the ferry to the you don't have to drive from the ferry to the city and back and that kind of stuff. That's the way to do it. The flight over is really beautiful. I've done that a couple times. You can take a float plane, or you can take a helicopter as well. The helicopter lands you a bit farther away, and they have a shuttle to the city, or you can actually walk. It's not that far. I have not tried those keto coffee or bullet coffee, black bean coffee blended with butter, coconut. I used to, I used to work with someone that used to put butter in their coffee. I hear that's pretty good actually. I tasted it. It wasn't really my thing. Um, I could see maybe putting some chocolate into it, Paul, but not. Yeah, I just have it black. Pretty simple. Country Auto, good to have you here. Welcome. We're talking about coffee today, and oil in the coffee. Yeah, and yes, it's definitely a slower pace. It took me a while to get used to because I grew up in the Lower Mainland. It takes you a while, a bit to get used to the. Uh, it is a slower. It is definitely a slower pace, but it took me a few weeks to get used to like like the drivers and stuff, because it's definitely not the same rat race, and people working. It's yeah, it's definitely a slower a relative. I could assume Toronto even more so. It's definitely more kind of laid back, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. So have the I think that's what she was doing. I think she was probably maybe fasting. I forget the diet. She was kind of doing that. But you would have the coffee in the morning, and then they would have nothing till after lunch. Yeah. But yeah, okay. So we stayed there. You're in the Hyatt. Yeah, essentially right. Excuse me, right downtown. So you can walk literally straight down to the floatplanes. Yeah, it's fun to watch the take off over Stanley Park. The flight is you take off, you fly over the city, kind of the edge of the city, Stanley Park, and then you fly over to the island. It's a good. It only takes about half, not even half. I think maybe about half an hour, kind of take off to landing. So it's quite a quick trip, which beats the ferry for sure. Because it means to get to the ferry, it takes you like an hour to get to the ferry terminal. You have to wait. Usually, you're waiting half an hour to an hour. The ferry ride is a couple hours, hour and a half, and then you have to drive from the ferry terminal to, if you're going to Victoria, down to Victoria, which is another 45 minutes or so. So that's just one way. Whereas if you fly, it's just you're up and down and you're there. You can. It's a lot better to do for a day. That's for sure. And then you can just come back, hop to the harbor, hop on the plane. The downside of that, depending on the time of year, the one time that I did go there and I flew over, I was kind of took a little mini vacation at the time, and took the flight, and then stayed at a hotel in Victoria. But then the next day, it was socked in with fog, and the planes couldn't take off. It was too foggy to go. So the flights were canceled. So then I had to go. So it actually did, well, it extended the weekend. So basically stayed another day, to be able to take the flight the next day. I think the flights were kind of working things out too. That would take you to there's a way to get, like, we could have just taken the bus to the ferry and then got that. They kind of work it out that way, but it's just easier to kind of just stay. Fortunate enough to be able to stay another night. Yeah, downtown is beautiful. Yeah, the downtown is nice. I haven't been downtown Vancouver it's been years. I've driven past it, like around it on the highway when I go visit my mom and stuff, but I haven't been downtown for a long time. Probably, I want to say 5 years now. It's been quite a while. Um, it is beautiful. Stanley Park is nice. The seawall is nice. When I lived downtown, I used to be able to go running around the seawall, for like right outside the door, which was great. Granville Island, yeah, it's touristy. It's not really. Um, it's okay. There's a little ferry that kind of takes you across, like a little tugboat, little ferry. You can kind of go across and take a little tour around Falls Creek if you want. Um, and to go to the market is very touristy. And yeah, I guess it could be kind of, it's good to see it if you've never been, but to make a trip, if you've done it once, you kind of, it is what it is. Yeah. And if you did, yeah, if you did fly, you'd fly and then maybe get something to drive. Yeah, to drive around. Yeah, that's probably the better way to do it. The ferry is north, probably 45 minutes from downtown. It is. So if you don't have a car, you'd have to take the bus, which takes an hour or so, that kind of stuff. So you'd have to probably better flying. Yeah, if you're just going for the day, you're better off flying, or even overnight. Probably better off flying. Yeah, or even plan to. I mean, if you can get a flight, if you're coming to visit, get a flight into Victoria to stay there as your base, and then maybe go to Vancouver for the day. But it's hard to say what you want to do. If you haven't been to Vancouver before, you'd want to see Vancouver. Everybody wants to kind of see Vancouver, and they want to see the Whistler, and then they want to go to Victoria. It's kind of the three kind of main things to see. But they're very far, all kind of apart. So you do need some time, or a car makes it easier. That's for sure. There we go. Hey, Jordan, good to have you here, dropping in. Thanks for tuning in. I know I think you're working. Jordan, we had mentioned your channel. For everybody that's watching, Cover Call ETF Investing. Jordan was one I did that interview with yesterday, so I was able to, or not yesterday. We were talking about it yesterday, and we did the recorded Zoom on the weekend. So he'll have that up on his channel. So if you're not subscribed, go subscribe to it, and you'll see us when he has it edited. Hopefully everything kind of turned out. Fly direct to the island. Spend a week there's a lot to see on the island MC for sure. And you need a lot of time. The distances doesn't seem like a lot, but it can be a lot of driving, but there's not much traffic, so it's a lot of highway driving, and it's not super stressful driving. It's scenic, and it's worth checking out. I haven't checked out enough of the island. That's the goal for this next summer, to do some more road trips for sure. Go to Tofino again and that kind of stuff. Saw someone dressed as Superman in Vancouver beating up some less than honest looking guy who was harassing a girl. It was very odd. Yeah, that sounds about like Vancouver. There's some kooks, some kind of. Sometimes you see stuff and you're just like, you shake your head and you just keep walking, I guess. But good for the person to, at least to step up for someone getting harassed. Hopefully it got sorted out. And yeah, anytime, make sure we'll do this. We'll do it again. That's as we left it, I think, for sure. Yeah, pretty similar. Obviously more mountains than Toronto, downtown Toronto. Buildings not as big, but similar. The waterfront area is similar. That's what I noticed when I was in Toronto. Kind of similar with the waterfront area, although it's a lake instead of obviously the ocean, but pretty similar, and the same kind of touristy things, for sure. I only spent one day in Toronto though. Just didn't have a lot of time to check stuff out. I did the tourist up the tower, and then kind of walked around the waterfront there. But that was about it. I have, but I haven't for a long time to the Gulf Islands. Well, I guess I was a couple years ago. I was at what island was it? It's close by here. I can't even remember. With where Tribune Bay is, which is beautiful. It takes 2 ferries to get there, though. Those little ferries. Been to Salt Spring Island, but not for years. Not anything recently, unfortunately. But that's kind of the plan. Having just moved here last summer, didn't get a ton of time, but this next summer. When I drove past the Costco and they were filming a movie with Vin Diesel, and they were filming a Girl Guides fight scene in the Costco parking lot. That almost sounds like a normal day in a Costco parking lot. I don't. That sounds like a regular Sunday, a Sunday about noon at a Costco parking lot. People looking for parking spot. So good. That would be a nice. That would be definitely a nice road trip, Jordan. Yeah. do some island. There's so much to see, so much to see. That's for sure. But it just takes time. But that would be a good. That would be a good, definitely family trip to get going. Is kind of and relaxing because it's definitely relaxing over here. So good call. There we go. Well, we're coming up at the end here. I have another. This Tuesdays is always my Zoom day, so I do have another meeting kind of right after this, which is crazy. So we'll start if kind of last comments come through. That's great. Let me know, and if you haven't, as always, like to say, if you haven't liked the stream, all that good YouTube stuff. I do want to thank your friend got out of the car and took a Vin Diesel and left. Yeah, this did fly by. On that note, yeah, we're coming up to 9 o'clock, so I'm going to have to take off. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Jordan, thanks for taking the time out of your work day. I know your work don't get caught on the channel. It was a lot of fun to do that interview for your channel. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And to all the channel members, thanks for joining. I'm going to have a portfolio update done. It's getting the time sometimes, but we'll carry on with the live streams. We will be back tomorrow, 8 o'clock, and I will get portfolio update done by midweek. I like to have that posted on, and as the channel members know, they get it a day ahead, and then will be posted for the rest. Everybody else, you won't miss out day after. So have a great rest of the day, Candice and Country Auto Garage. Have a good one. We'll leave it at that. Thanks, everybody.